Wow. So I guess they just love Patrick Murphy.
I guess.
But look, it doesn't matter, QB. Don't lose your. Don't
Well, nothing matters because Oklahoma's going to roll through it. But my point is, all the because I watched the selection show this Sunday, and then of course Amanda Scarborough, all those Michelle Smith, they're all they just think it's ridiculous, which I do agree with them. So whatever. And not only that though, that not only are they the 5 seed, they have only mid majors coming to play there, and so everybody thinks it's some kind of
QB. Guess what? Guess what? The 64th seed or whatever it was won the College World Series in baseball last year. So that's what I think about your seeds.
That does not happen in softball though. Softball.
I know.
Softball is equivalent to college football. Okay, whereas baseball is equivalent to college basketball.
I can't argue with that. Let me ask you this question. Can I ask you a question? What now? And maybe it's just because I'm not keeping up with the Live Tour. I just don't. I don't care. But this is the PGA Championship coming up. They're letting Live players play. Was that always in the picture, or
they play in the Masters, JC?
That's an invitational, QB.
Well, the PGA, none of this is sanctioned by the PGA Tour.
Okay.
No major is sanctioned by the PGA Tour. They're all their own entity. So yes, the Live players are playing in every major.
Okay. Well, okay. All right. Well, we'll do our picks in a little while, but after being so good at winning golf tournaments, winning majors, winning the TPC, winning the British Open, has anybody fallen off the attention cliff more than Cameron Smith? To me, nobody even talks about him anymore.
Well, does anybody talk about anybody on the Live Tour?
Not really. I don't hear much about any of them, to tell you the truth.
And they don't care because they have more money than everybody in the world.
True. Well, I tell you what.
All they do is play in some charity golf events like 6 times a year in shorts.
I think Koepka kind of wishes he didn't go, but it's too late. Now, he could give the Arabs the money back, but I guess. I don't know.
What if all of them said, you know what, we're going to give our money back and go back to the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I mean, really, is there any point to the Live Tour? Honest to God, nobody talks to me about
it. It's nothing. It's all about money for your great grandkids.
Yeah, but I talk to guys that you and I both know, casual golfers, weekend golfers, people that travel. I'm about to go travel myself, go play in a member guest. And some guys really like it. They really think it's a good deal. And it might be for the players, but I mean, why would you watch that? What do you get out of watching it? I don't understand. I'll never understand. It means absolutely nothing.
I don't think anybody watches it. I don't even know how
I think you're right. I don't think anybody watches it.
Yeah. Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. Shane, did you see that Charleston Rambo and Jordan Thomas signed NFL contracts? That's your offense being recognized. They did. There's been, I think, 32 players in the XFL that have signed contracts, and there's been, I think, 54 as of yesterday that got invited to camp. So that doesn't even count the DC and the Arlington team yet. So a lot of guys are getting a lot of opportunities. So good for those kids.
Can you tell me who won? Did DC win it?
No, Arlington, as I told you, would win. They killed them.
They did.
Yeah.
What? How did they?
When Arlington traded for the quarterback that I wanted before the season started, their team turned around. Luis Perez, best player in the league, but
and then they beat the DC Defenders.
They pounded them.
Wow. So they played good defense. They've always played good defense.
They had a losing record and won the championship at 5-6.
That's good for them.
Joe says DJ and Phil are in Forbes top 10 money earners for athletes after Live contracts last year. I would think they would be the damn top 2. I mean, LeBron, I guess. I don't know who's making the most money as an athlete.
I would guess it's some NBA player. They get the biggest contracts. I mean, what the Celtics are about to give Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, is going to be earth-shattering because they're going to beat the Heat, and then they're going to play Denver or LA.
And Denver's going to just destroy them with the Joker. The Joker, man, you can't stop him.
Right. He's a triple-double machine. He is a triple-double machine. But the Lakers came back last night late in the quarter, made it interesting there at the end. I don't think that's a blowout series. I think it's going 6. I do. I think the Lakers will win.
They might. And tonight, the Celtics and the Heat. Who are you pulling for there, JC? The Celtics and the Heat.
I'm a Boston guy, dude.
Oh, yeah, you're a Boston guy. Boston guy who likes the Yankees. That makes a lot of sense. We all know.
It worked out.
We know the stories, the so-called stories.
You're a New Orleans Saints fan that likes the Braves. That makes sense too.
But no. Hang on a second. It makes perfect sense because in the 80s,
New Orleans and Atlanta hate each other, just like Boston and New York do.
No. Okay, last time I checked,
I know New Orleans doesn't have a baseball team.
The Saints and Archie Manning that is Mississippi's team. You know, the so-called Cowboys are America's team. The Saints are Mississippi's team. Okay. Well, then there was nobody else to watch on TV because you did the same thing growing up. You watched Ernie Johnson and Pete Carey and
Skip
all
Carey.
Those guys.
Pete Van Wieren and Skip Carey.
Yeah, those dudes.
Yeah.
So you watched the Braves. So you obviously grew up in the South. If anybody in the 70s and 80s grew up in the South, they liked the Braves. That's all they had.
That's true.
So I do not wear jerseys or hats or any of that crap. I don't give a damn if the Saints win one game or if the Braves win a game. But those were my teams growing up. My reasonings make way more sense than yours. So we'll leave it at that. Chris Storing Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. We got some text on the Titan our text line. Let's see what they're all about here. This one is.
I'm about to go on golf tour, QB. I'm about to be a member guester.
This is from Josh in Mississippi. He says Danny Cannell on his podcast said the Gators were better with Mullen and should have kept him. Had to be a troll kind of take. What are your thoughts to that? Oh, I mean, Mullen had 2 good years and a terrible year, lost control of the team, didn't do a great job recruiting. That's a fact. Yeah. Gators are doing a tremendous job recruiting. Now they just got to go win games. I mean, Billy's been here 1 year.
Well, usually one leads to the other, right?
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Rick, thank you, Rick. On Facebook Live says Forbes' #1 athlete.
Okay.
Is a soccer player.
Yeah. Is it that Beckham guy that never plays soccer?
No, he don't play anymore. He's old. Ronaldo.
Wow.
Ronaldo, and then Messi is second. And then third is some dude, I can't even pronounce his name. So if young kids, if you're not at school today and you're listening to the program, you know, your dad always said if you're left-handed to be a pitcher, scratch that. Go get a soccer ball and start kicking it against the house and work on your feet. Got to work on your feet if you want to be a good soccer player.
But the one thing I've had about soccer I've always been negative about on soccer is that the upper body is, I guess, other than your head and your chest, the hand-eye coordination. You should see. I mean, I know some soccer players that can't. They pick up a football and throw it very awkwardly. Hand-eye coordination is not good for soccer players. That's why hockey players are much better athletes than soccer players.
Matt says a lot of Cub fans in the South. WGN. That's true.
I
don't think we got WGN in Mississippi.
No, we got the Cubs Astros tonight at Minute Maid. I'll send you pictures. Yeah, Cubs Astros.
Wait, where are you headed, JC?
I'm going to Houston here in about an hour and go see Jack, and then we're going to go to Minute Maid Park with 32,000 other Astro fans and Cub fans and watch tonight's game. Big pitching matchup tonight. Big pitching matchup. The Cubs are throwing their best pitcher, and they lost last night. But the Chicago Cubs have Drew Smiley pitching tonight. He's 4-1 with a 3.0 ERA, and Houston's got J.P. France. So 2 good pitchers tonight. Going to sit there on row 13, right there on the bottom by the dugout, and watch the Cubs Astros before I head up to Jackson, Mississippi at the wonderful Annandale Golf Course.
Yeah, don't forget my shirt. Greg says Yankees are being accused of stealing signs. Aaron Judge looking towards the dugout before every pitch. Did you see that?
No. Look,
you got to see it. He's in the batter's box, He's looking this way, and he looks over like just turns his eyes, then turn his head, looks in his dugout, gets the pitch, hits a home run.
God bless him. You know what? If
Yeah.
the Astros can do it, the Yankees can do it.
Oh, so now you're all about cheating, JC.
I'm
Okay.
not, but I mean, does it matter? Is there any accountability to anybybody? I mean, is Altuve?
They paid the price.
Okay. Altuve won a World Series last year, and he won the year they cheated, so he's got 2 now. I don't know. I think the Astros are a great organization, even though they did, they cheated, but a lot of those guys are gone, and they still kept it going, and they're the class of the American League. They're class of baseball, really. They're better than the Dodgers. They're better than the Yankees. They're the best team. Record-wise, doesn't matter in May, but the Houston Astros are the team. They're the world champs.
Yes, they are. Joseph says, have you guys read the article from Andy Staples on the UF program? I have not.
I did. I read it in The Athletic. He basically goes through all the things that we already know about the facilities, the issues with turnover. And I mean, it was well written. It was, but it was nothing that I don't think we already knew.
Oh, I'm not a member of the Athletics, so
it's great. I mean, it's great. He's a fabulous writer. He's very talented, but I don't think he gave us anything that we didn't already know. And he added the issues with the disorganization over NIL here at the university. Now that they're trying to get that organized a little bit better to compete on that front, which they have to do, which we all know. And so I think the Gators are in a much better spot now than they were just 12 months ago, obviously. Despite of last year, I think it's a whole new world now, and they're going to be fine. But it's nothing that we didn't already know. But he's right. I mean, they fell behind because they just didn't invest.
So Matt's telling you where you should go eat in Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've never heard of this place. And you ever heard of Keesler or Keisler Prime? It says it's the best steakhouse in the South.
Well,
we know plenty of people. I've never heard of that.
Well, I'm going to ask Rebel and Kamo about that because I'll be eating with them. And I'll say, are we going to Keesler Prime? Because Matt on the podcast suggested that. So we'll see what they say. And I'll let you know, Matt, on I guess I'm not going to be here on Monday because I got to fly. Maybe we'll tape Sunday Night QB. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay, so Brandon says, and JC, you can probably touch on this. I can't, or can I? He says, my question, though, regarding the article is, where has our money gone to over the years? We should have a huge coffer in regards to the other programs. We got plenty of money.
Yeah,
but
we didn't spend it.
It's the way that the program has run for 60, 70 years. They don't spend money on things so it goes back to the facilities, in my opinion, what really set us way behind. We have it now. You got to catch up. But
I agree.
I still, you got to remember, the money that UF has or saved on whatever is not going to be dished out to buy players. That's not what NIL is.
Right.
So that money is being used for facilities to Condron Ballpark.
Absolutely.
Katie Seashore Presley Stadium.
Yeah.
The new renovations they did at tennis. That's what they do with all the money.
It's true. Now, there was a time where I believe I read somewhere years and years ago the number $60 million in the bank was floated around when they were renovating the O'Connell Center and they had a big fund drive. A lot of folks were saying, you guys don't have to wait to raise the money. You already have it. Just spend it. But they sit on their cash. They always did. And that was a problem. I mean, Jeremy just didn't spend. I mean, that's just his choice. He was the AD. He was the one that made these decisions for the most part, I think. And he hired coaches that were excelled in spring sports. And he tried in the football, but his hires, look, he didn't hire Steve Spurrier, folks. Just know that. Robert Bryant hired Steve Spurrier. And Urban Meyer was brought in, I think, although I don't have the knowledge. Well, I'll just tell you this. Bernie Matchin brought Urban Meyer from Utah. That's what happened there. He was the president of Utah and said, come on, Herb, we're going to Gainesville. And Herb said, let's go. That's what happened. I believe that's what happened.
Chris says on Facebook Live, I kind of agree with this. He said, we got caught up with the facilities, and then the game has changed. It's all about cash now, which is kind of true.
Well, it is, but you can't put them in a YMCA facility.
No. But what I'm saying is, if
Yeah.
the NIL hadn't come about or whatever, buying players and all that, the facility, it's definitely helping us and going to help us. But the landscape of football or sports changed when NIL came about. All right, JC, real quick, because we know we get.
I just will say this one last point: the school with the most money was lousy last year. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
They're going to be pretty good this year, though.
They could.
All right, real quick, give us you got hockey starting tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah.
Obviously, the surprise has to be the Carolina I mean, not the Carolina Panthers. They're Carolina.
You're close.
Yeah, well, the Hurricanes from Carolina are playing the Panthers of Florida.
That's tomorrow.
And they could be called the Carolina Panthers because they're playing in the state of Carolina.
Yeah. They're it's a very strange Final Four between Florida, Carolina, Dallas, and Vegas. And those are teams that I don't think anybody picked to be in the Final Four. Carolina's injuries, Florida being the 8th seed, just barely getting in. Dallas being a team that historically has done okay, but never really pushed through and won it here recently. And then the Vegas Golden Knights, which have been very good in their expansion years here as a team that has excelled early, but they also lost in the Stanley Cup Finals. So we're going to have somebody break through, and it is exciting. Dallas American Airlines Arena was tremendous the other night in that Game 7 when they beat the Seattle Kraken. And I think it's going to be just a tremendous conference finals on both sides. So Florida Panthers are the story, though, as the team that's come out of absolutely nowhere to beat the Bruins and the Maple Leafs, 2 of the original 6. And it's amazing. It's amazing. A week ago when I was in Murphy, North Carolina, the Florida Panthers were still 5-1 underdogs to win the Stanley Cup. So picked up a $40 ticket to win $200. We'll see how that goes. But
all right, real quick, before we do our picks and you get out of here. Joseph says, I guess he's referring to Andy Staples' article, said that he said Spurrier could be the one to blame for taking pride in beating schools with fancy facilities because he was a firm believer that stuff didn't matter.
Yeah,
so maybe failed. That is,
but I don't believe that.
I'm going to disagree and go 100%. Nobody had a facility then.
I will say that there were only maybe 1 or 2 schools that started those facilities at the time.
No, I think when Spurrier was here, nobody had a standalone football facility.
In '98, I think Alabama built one. I think they did, but I could be wrong. But he did say that in the piece, so you do need to read it. And I don't think that's necessarily true about how Steve didn't care. I mean, if somebody wants to build something for Steve, he would have.
Yeah, because my point is
they did it in South Carolina.
If people had facilities and we were beating them and saying that kind of stuff, I could understand it. But I know 1,000% that we weren't about beating anybody that had a football facility. And if that was the case, he would have never he wouldn't have begged to build the Jerry and Steve Spurrier facility in Columbia, South Carolina.
I mean, read it. He only named a few schools. I think Tennessee was there. Alabama was there in the late 90s having a fall football facility. I think that did happen, but it wasn't nationwide. It was not. And you're right. In the early 90s, nobody had it. That's correct. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah, Joseph says the article says that there were schools that had them in the 90s. I want to do some research on that.
Right. You're going to have to. You would believe Andy, right? I mean, he's doing the research for you. He's not making it up. But I do think Tennessee and Alabama and maybe one other school did have something in the late 90s. I do believe that's true. But again, it wasn't permeating throughout college football. It wasn't something we all thought about.
And it wasn't what they are today. It had to be no different than what Florida had in the South End Zone, but it was just another building over here because that stuff didn't come about until years later. All right, JC, let's get our Peachland Dental, the Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. PGA Championship. I'll let you go first, JC. 3 picks.
John Rahm.
Shocker.
Oh, I guarantee you, I know who you're picking.
You're not going to know any of my guys.
Okay. Let's hear it.
My first pick is going to be Sungjae Im.
Jesus. You're going to break through with one of these Koreans, but he's got no chance. All right. I'm going to take how about Scotty Scheffler?
Oh, how about that? And I'm taking Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, he ain't winning that. And
He
then
won
last
the U.S. Open last year, by the way.
he did. He also won at Hilton Head this year. Okay, well, you like my third pick. It's not chalk, but I think this guy is really good. He's going to break through, and that's Sahith Theegala.
All right.
And I've got a bonus pick after your last pick.
And my last pick will be Terrell Hatton.
Yeah, that's a good one. And let's keep your eye on Cameron Young. He is a bridesmaid in so many of these things. He's going to break through at some point. His game is too good. Don't be surprised. They all love his chances this weekend up at Rochester because he's a New York guy. He's played here plenty of times. Cameron Young's a guy to keep your eye on for sure.
Yeah. Joseph, we're not yelling at you about the article. I really want to know who had a so-called football facility in the 90s.
I tell you what,
call Andy.
I'll send you, or if you want,
you can't. People tried to send me that article. If you're not a member, you can't read it.
I was gonna say I'll send you the damn password. You can read it.
Oh, I'm not. I don't care that enough to have to type in a password and all that.
All
right, JC. Good luck in Annandale.
Passwords are easy. Roll Tide 2023. That's my password for everything.
Remember, I need a large Peter Millar with the flying quail.
Do you want me to surprise you or FaceTime?
Oh, I don't care what color or any of that. It just has to be the correct brand and size, okay?
Yeah, large Peter Millar with quail. Sure, got it.
Yeah, perfect. All right, that's JC going on his world adventure. Be safe, JC, and you're good. I can't wait to see all the Astro gear you buy. Oh,
I'm getting some Astro stuff tonight.
For a guy that despised the Astros a month ago.
You're right. But my kid lives in Houston. And he lives 8 minutes from the ballpark. We're going to be an Astro fan tonight.
All right. I think my man, Jerry Odom, who coaches at Tusculum, says that Tennessee had a facility. But like I said, it was probably a little building over there.
No, dude, it wasn't. No, it was pretty special. You should Google it. It wasn't just a back office. It was pretty impressive. Tennessee.
It shows pictures from the 90s.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Screenshot them and send them to me then.
Okay.
All right. That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll be joined by Kyle Crooks. Talk a little. Look at him trying to flash his Alabama ring there. He wants everybody to know he went to Alabama. We're going to take a quick timeout. Come back. Get Kyle Crooks. Talk a little Gator softball. If you got some questions for Kyle, shoot them our way. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
There are a few tickets left for Gainesville's best pig roast and special whiskey debut. Sunday, May 21st from 2 to 5 p.m., Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is roasting a whole pig and sipping Piggyback Rye whiskey. Join us at Vicer's Rooftop for the release of Spurrier's Piggyback Rye's private labeled barrel select whiskey. We'll have specialty drinks, games, raffles, plus each ticket includes your own bottle of Spurrier's Piggyback Rye whiskey to take home. Go to Spurriers.com to get your ticket to join 125 of your friends at the Rooftop Pig Roast before we sell out.
This is Steve Spurrier, former head ball coach of our Florida Gators. Business is booming at our restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. So we're looking to hire 3 top quality front of the house managers and assistant managers. Restaurant talent acquisition is like building a championship football dynasty, and I'm recruiting great people to join our newest team. Thanks to the overwhelming support of people here in Gainesville, the Gator Nation, and fans of all the teams, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is one of the busiest restaurants in the state. And with our weekend brunch buffet and our takeout options coming soon, we're looking to add a few new restaurant leaders. Everyone knows a coach sometimes is about as good as all of his talent, his players, and his assistant coaches. And if you have a restaurant management experience and are looking to work in a fast-paced, fun environment, then go to www.spurriers.com and apply today. Thank you, and go Gators.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, The Keys, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Starbucks, Visor's Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. And ahead of the Titan Memorial Hotline now, we're joined by the voice of Gator softball, Kyle Crooks. Good morning, Kyle. How you doing, buddy?
Morning, Shane. So it's good to talk to you. I know you've had the XFL season and all that going, so it's good to have you back on the show full time.
Yeah, and we appreciate everything you did for the program. We were speaking before you came on, the team is already out in California, Palo Alto. You'll be heading out there shortly. Just tell us a little bit about this regional. You got Stanford, who I think is the number 9 overall.
Yeah.
And then you got the Gators, Loyola Marymount, and Long Beach. Gators open up Friday. I don't know the exact time Eastern that we play Loyola. What can you tell us about Loyola Marymount?
Yeah, so they have one really good pitcher. I kind of have the notes here because it's one of those weeks where you're preparing for so many different things. You have so many different matchups, 4 different teams. I like to get pretty expansive in my prep, so it's a pretty long process. But the West Coast champions, they, what's interesting about them is they have one really, I think everybody in this regional has a dominant pitcher, ironically enough, besides the Gators. They have not had dominant pitching all year, but Jenna Perez, West Coast Conference Pitcher of the Year, first team in their conference, somebody who can really get some swings and misses, had a 20 strikeout game at one point this year, second in the conference in ERA, transfer from UNLV. Not a whole lot behind that, Shane, in terms of their pitching, but she is really good. Actually, her last appearance was a no-hitter against San Diego. Loyola Marymount's coming in having lost 2 of 3 to San Diego in their last game or the last series. So they're not necessarily playing their best softball at the moment. I would say in this regional, the good thing for the Gators, they are the best offensive team by far. Very average offenses in the other 3, whether it's Loyola, Long Beach State, Stanford. So you got that going for you. Offensively, you're the best team. The biggest key here against Loyola, whether it's Stanford and hopefully a winner's bracket game on Saturday or Long Beach State, what can you get out of your starters, right? It's the question all year long with Gator softball. Can you get enough out of your starting pitching? It'll start on Friday with Loyola, who, again, not murderer's row offensively. Same thing with Stanford. I think Stanford's team average is 285, which is, not great at all. Long Beach State, same thing, pretty average pedestrian offensively. So what can you get? What can the Gators get out of their pitching staff this weekend will be a huge key.
Yeah, when you look at this, I guess the opener, I guess we'll wait and see, or maybe Tim's already announced. Who do you think is going to be in the circle to start this regional?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Hightower. There's no question about it. The good thing for the Gators in that regard is that Elizabeth Hightower has pitched pretty well of late. She had 2 starts against Kentucky, the final series of the regular season. Went a complete game, 7 innings. The Gators had to use a 2-run home run on the 7th to win that game. Had a rough go of it on that Saturday because she had to come in to close, unfamiliar territory. I think you chalk it up to that. She had to come in the 7th inning in a 1-run game. That's not necessarily what she's used to. She's not a relief pitcher. She's not a closer. But, Coach Walton wanted to ride the hot hand in that game. And then she comes back on Sunday, throws a complete game effort, allowing just one run, and the Gators lose 1-0. SEC tournament, pitches well against Kentucky. Pitched really well in relief against the top offense in the SEC in Tennessee. So I think you're starting to see Hightower, who, Shane, she was an All-American in 2021. We're not too far off from her being an elite pitcher in the best conference in women's college softball in the SEC. She will start. I think you're going to see pretty much a similar remedy here. Hightower to start. Riley Trilicek, who's a drop ball pitcher, somebody who is primarily come in relief. She will pitch. And then Lexi Delbray is the big X factor in this one. Shane, how many innings can they get out of her? It's one of those deals where she'll throw one inning, cross your fingers, start the next inning, cross your fingers that she can get through it all. Part of it's not completely her fault. I think she's dealt with an injury. She didn't pitch since the World Series last year leading up to the season. So she had months off where she couldn't throw a softball. And you can tell it's an issue for her, and she hasn't been able to be her old self, has electric stuff, but hasn't been able to be herself. So right now it's two pitchers that you somewhat rely on, but it's Hightower, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. We got a text on the Titan Noir text line from Judy. It's a pretty long one here, but basically what she's asking here, Kyle, in your opinion, looking at the offensive side for the Gators, we know about Skylar Wallace, Eccles, Falvey, that crew. Who, in your mind, needs to really step up at the plate for the Gators to come out of this regional?
Yeah, it's a really good question from Judy, because you do have your constants, and the constants have been, I'd say, the top four in the lineup, whether it's Wallace, Falvey, Eccles, Walsh. Those are all SEC players. I would say a few players that need to step up in this lineup, Pal Egan being one of them. She'll hit the 5 spot, be a right fielder, but she is at some points been pretty consistent. But they need her to provide some protection behind that top 4, because those 4 will get on base. That's the thing. And you'll have prime opportunities, I believe, for Pal to drive in some runs. So I would say Pal Egan, if she can have a big regional, that means really good things for the Gators, because she's bringing in those top 4 to the plate. Katie Kistler is an interesting one. We'll see how many starts that she might get in the outfield. She was the everyday left fielder and really struggled offensively this year. Has had somewhat of a sophomore slump, I would say, for her. Didn't play a whole lot her freshman year. Her true freshman year was last year, and she was outstanding, one of the best players in SEC play. Just hasn't been able to find it this year. And then you look at the bottom third, Shane. This is where I think all year you want to find some depth in the lineup. Especially against, by the way, Stanford is probably the best pitching staff in the country. They have 2 of the best pitchers, including a freshman that has the best ERA in the country at under a half a run in her ERA. But Avery Gales at the bottom of the lineup is going to be huge. Whoever he puts in that 9 spot to try and turn the lineup over. At times we have seen Kendra Falvey in the 9 spot, but she's moved back to 2. Can you get some production out of the Sarah Longleys, the Avery Gales in the bottom half of the lineup, bottom third specifically, to try and turn the lineup over? That's going to be pretty key.
Yeah. Got another text here on the Titan Noir text line from Bobby. It says, Kyle, is Skylar Wallace the best Gator softball player you've ever seen? Do you think she wins Player of the Year? I'll answer that first and then get your thoughts on it.
Sure.
Because I've been following them ever since Tim got here. It was Amanda Lorenz for me, but now I think she's the best player I've ever seen in a Gator uniform. I don't know enough about the other girls around the country up for Player of the Year, but gosh, what she's done has been phenomenal. What do you think about her, Kyle?
Yeah, she is, you're right. Amanda Lorenz, I've always said, when somebody's asked me, who's the best Gator that you've ever covered? Because I've covered multiple sports here at Florida. It was Amanda Lorenz. You could chalk her up on base. She's going to find a way to get on. She would lead off for Tim Wallen. She played a plus left field, first base, whatever position. They called her Mandy Softball for a reason, because she was just really good at softball. She would eat, sleep, breathe the sport. 5-tool players. Amanda was one. Skylar Wallace. This is the best year in Florida softball history. Just think of it. A program that has 2 national championships, has been to a ton of World Series, 11 in total, a ton of super regionals. You have to have pretty good talent. You have to have pretty good players, right? But this is the greatest single season in Florida softball history when it's all said and done. Think of this. So she has 19 home runs now. The program record is 22. So she's 3 away from, and this is somebody who had a career high 8 home runs last year. So she was not a power hitter by any means. So she breaks out into this almost kind of like Barry Bonds like figure this year, where she's being intentionally walked. You can't. It's either a home run or a walk where you don't throw her a strike. But she's about to break records in batting average, slugging percentage, on base percentage. She's up there in walks. Like the key offensive categories, every single one of them, she's about to break it, and not just break them, but crush those records for a single season. She's already won the SEC Player of the Year. Kiki Malloy was the only one closer within the purview of maybe winning that award. National Player of the Year, though, Shane, it's going to be interesting how much, when you vote on an award like that, do you think about team success when it comes to National Player of the Year? And that's why let's not forget about the 3 or 4 people at Oklahoma that are in the top 10 watch list. You know, Jada Coleman being one of them who could win the award. I think in the end, it's probably going to go to somebody at Oklahoma who wins National Player of the Year, or UCLA, who kind of swept the Pac-12 postseason awards this year. She should be in the top 3. I'll say that. So they're going to whittle down from top 10 to a top 3 at the World Series for National Player of the Year. I think she'll be in that 3. Individual seasons, you can't find a better one in the country, but do they factor in that team / postseason success when it comes to National Player of the Year? That's where Skylar might have some issues.
Yeah, I think Kyle's still there. I don't know if it's my internet. Can you hear me, Kyle?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I got you back. You're back. Got you back now.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I the Waltons, been to OKC twice with them out there. Obviously, this year has been a difficult year. It's really had, and softball's always amazed me at how girl can strike out multiple times, make an error. You've been around this team all year long, and the season probably has not gone the way they anticipated, because they were very highly ranked at the beginning of the year. Going to this regional out in Stanford.
Shane, you cut out towards the end there. You got me? Okay, so I think Shane's having some issues with his internet. Shane, you got me now?
Yeah, I got you now. Got you now.
Okay. Can you just repeat that question? You
Yeah,
said
so my question is, you know, like, obviously we were highly ranked preseason. Season didn't go as way it anticipated, you know, so much success with Tim Walton. First time he's had a losing record in the SEC. My question, you've been around these girls a lot this year. Their mindset heading into postseason.
Yeah, it's a mindset of it's a blank slate. I've talked to Coach Walton about it at the SEC tournament. It's 0-0. It's a similar thing. Shane, you've been around sports for a long time. It's a very similar thing, that what you do in the regular season doesn't necessarily matter. Now, it matters if you win your last 10 games and you have all this great mojo going into the postseason. You can carry that over to that next season. But if you're a team that's kind of been, you know, Florida's in a way kind of been average, right? Under 500, 11-13 around the SEC, almost the definition of average at 500 in the SEC. So it's a group that's hungry. I would say that. I think a pitching staff that's eager to prove themselves. Skylar Wallace, who's eager to get back to another World Series. Charlotte Eccles, who's eager to get back to another World Series. I would say this. I would never bet against Tim Walton in the postseason. The dude has a ridiculous record in regional, specifically in the NCAA tournament specifically. I want that guy in my dugout. I know it sounds corny or cliche, but that's the dude I want in my dugout. in the postseason. In a tight game, there's certain things about that logo. When the NCAA tournament selection show, they saw Florida go out to Stanford, and Stanford's a 9 seed. Well, they say, boy, Stanford got a really tough draw, because they know Florida's postseason success. There's a certain mojo around this team when they enter the postseason. You go back to 2019. It's a team that was not very good that year, especially offensively. But what did they do? They won the regional. They beat Tennessee in the Supers, and here are the big bad Gators again in Oklahoma City. It's just certain programs, certain teams in all sports, they just find ways to keep winning in the postseason, and that's been Florida's history.
Yeah, well, I think they can make a run. Stanford does not scare me, but we'll see what happens. Kyle, last thing for you. Obviously, when the selection committee came out and Alabama was, I think, the 5th seed in the SEC tournament, they get the national 5th seed. I know a lot of people are raising hell about that. Your thoughts on if Alabama should be a 5 seed or not?
Yeah, it's the craziest seeding I think I've ever seen in any sport. Can you think of any NCAA tournament in men's basketball, college football playoff, where somebody has been seeded 7 slots ahead of where they probably should be? If you're leaning towards Alabama maybe being seeded higher than what they should have been, maybe at highest they're a 10 seed, but they were a 5. Now, the committee's rationale behind that was top 10 wins. For some reason, they pick and choose what metrics that they want to use every single year. This year, it was top 10 wins. Alabama had 6. And the funny thing is, so Baylor was one of those teams who tied for the nation lead with 6. They were on the bubble of being a top 16 team, and they didn't host, yet they had the same number of top 10 wins as Alabama had. So you use that metric for one team, but not the other. Interesting. And here's the other portion of it. You don't necessarily think about injuries if you're the committee, because injuries are what they are. They don't have the information necessary to. But Montana Fouts is the best pitcher in one of the best pitchers in the country. She has over 300 strikeouts on the year. This is her final hurrah. She hurt her plant leg in the SEC tournament. Is she even going to be able to pitch? Now, if she doesn't pitch, Alabama might not get out of the regional. Central Arkansas is in the regional. It was a pretty good team. But it was an absurd seeding. Oklahoma State was the 6th seed. They lost 11 of their last 13, but they had all the metrics to be a top 8 seed. Still probably pretty high. I think the committee didn't seed, besides the national seed, so the top 16, the 2 seeds and the 3 seeds in each region, you can have an argument for almost all of them. They really had issues with seeding in this tournament. I think everybody who got in was supposed to get in, but the seeding, including Alabama's, that was something. I've never seen that before on a selection day, where you're like, wow, you're 7 slots off. Like that, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it was crazy for sure. Oklahoma, what Patty Gasso's done out there is they're a machine. Who did they lose to this year?
I think Baylor.
Oh, Baylor. Okay, so I think they're 51-1. They're probably going to roll right through this tournament.
Oh.
Do they start playing next year in the SEC, or is it the following year?
I want to say it's the following year.
Okay.
I think it's the following year. So you'll have Oklahoma. Just think of how hard the SEC is now, Shane. You got 12 teams in. Mississippi State was on the bubble. They were one of the first 4 teams out from being another year where the SEC had all 13. Remember, Vanderbilt doesn't have softball, so only 13 teams in the SEC for softball. And then you had Texas, who is a number 13 national seed this year. They believe they were snubbed for almost having being a 10 seed or maybe even possibly a top 8. So you're adding 2 really elite programs with really good fan bases and great talent to the SEC. It is going to be a bloodbath. But Oklahoma, the only team, I think maybe Tennessee, who's pretty complete, UCLA being another one, but they're not going to get threatened until they get to OKC. Oklahoma always seems to have a couple good games in Oklahoma City, but they won't have anything they'll have to worry about until then.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Have a safe travel out there. You going to do some sightseeing while you're out there, or just hunker down and do softball?
Yeah, maybe, I'm flying to San Francisco tonight, but it'll be pretty late. So, Palo Alto, it's a nice part of the country. So maybe I'll take a, sightsee or whatever, but this is a fun part of the year, because if you're not calling the games, you kind of want to see what's going on around you in terms of like the other regionals, who's getting upset, who's biting their nails around the country. So this is a really fun time of year. But for me, it's probably hunker down and just get ready for the games.
I don't know if I've ever seen Stanford's ballpark even on TV. I've seen UCLA's, which to me, with all the what they've done in college softball, how bad their facility is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about what this facility are they going to have you like sitting outside with the patrons calling the game, or will you have a spot in the press box?
No, they haven't answered that for me yet, which makes me think we'll be outside. That was the case in the SEC tournament, even at Bogle Park, which has an awesome facility at Arkansas. We were on the concourse, which wasn't bad because we had the covering. But UCLA is in an interesting spot because they're landlocked. Like they can't expand their facility even if they wanted to, at where they are. But it looks like Palo Alto and Stanford, it looks like a really nice facility. I don't know how big their press area is. My assumption would be that we're probably going to be outside. If we're the only radio there, then maybe we'll get a seat in the press box. But I prepare for the worst, Shane. I prepare for, even in California, getting rained on and having to cover the equipment. And you know how it is. The equipment, you have to make sure the equipment is nice and dry. It's the only thing that really matters in those situations.
Very true. We appreciate your time, safe travels, and hopefully Gators can get out of this regional. Appreciate it, Kyle.
I appreciate you, Shane. Thanks.
That's Kyle Crooks. Join us on the Tight Number Hotline. Take a quick timeout, come back and wrap up this Wednesday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
There are a few tickets left for Gainesville's best pig roast and special whiskey debut. Sunday, May 21st from 2 to 5 p.m., Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is roasting a whole pig and sipping piggyback rye whiskey. Join us at Vicer's Rooftop for the release of Spurrier's Piggyback Rye's private labeled barrel select whiskey. We'll have specialty drinks, games, raffles, plus each ticket includes your own bottle of Spurrier's Piggyback Rye whiskey to take home. Go to Spurriers.com to get your ticket to join 125 of your friends at the Rooftop Pig Roast before we sell out.
Hi, this is Steve Spurrier, former head ball coach of our Florida Gators. Business is booming at our restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. So we're looking to hire 3 top quality front of the house managers and assistant managers. Restaurant talent acquisition is like building a championship football dynasty, and I'm recruiting great people to join our newest team. Thanks to the overwhelming support of people here in Gainesville, the Gator Nation, and fans of all the teams, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is one of the busiest restaurants in the state. And with our weekend brunch buffet and our takeout options coming soon, we're looking to add a few new restaurant leaders. Everyone knows a coach sometimes is about as good as all of his talent, his players, and his assistant coaches. And if you have a restaurant management experience and are looking to work in a fast-paced, fun environment, then go to www.spurriers.com and apply today. Thank you, and go Gators.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right. With the right insurance options for you and your family, visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call, 352-240-1779. I want to thank Kyle Crooks and JC for joining us on the Tight MR Hotline. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. In 1998, New York Yankees pitcher David Wells tosses a perfect game and a 4-0 win against the Minnesota Twins at Yankee Stadium. That's This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends, Campus USA Credit Union. Gator men's golf today's the last day up in Michigan. They're sit at 6th place now. Boy, they got to make a huge run today to advance. Georgia's played some unbelievable golf, but top 5 advance. They sit in 6th right now, but 7 shots out of 5th place. So need to go real low. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Gator softball again this weekend. Hopefully they play well and move on. Tomorrow's program will have Brent Beard. We'll talk a little high school sports as well with on our Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. Have a great day out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.